How many of you have ever been told that you need to play with more dynamic contrast? That you need to exaggerate the dynamics? Maybe this was said to you by your band director, by an adjudicator, or maybe even your friend that was listening to you play. As musicians, one of the most common critiques we get is that we need more dynamic contrast, that we need to exaggerate the dynamic changes. But how exactly do we do that? What's up everyone, I'm Rohit Kaluri, and welcome to another video. Today I'm going to teach you an exercise that I do every day in my warm-up to expand my dynamic range. Before we get started, I would like to give a shout out to my website, which is linked in the description. If you are a band director looking for someone to come in and do sectionals, or if you are looking for private lessons, information can be found on my website. Alright, now let's get started. Dynamics are very important in music. They are how we express ourselves through the instrument. A piano, for example, can be both calm or somber depending on the mood of the piece. Forte can be with excitement or with angst. These are just a few examples. When changing dynamics, it is not about blowing more or less air. Rather, it is about changing the speed and the pressure of the air. Recall from my previous videos how the air leads everything. In this exercise, we are going to use the air to lead dynamic changes. A piano dynamic, while soft, should still sound confident and supported. And a forte dynamic, while louder, should still be within control. It is important to maintain your embouchure when changing dynamics. Often what I notice is people will collapse their embouchure when playing soft, or strain their embouchure when playing loud. The best way to maintain your embouchure when changing dynamics is to stretch your mouth. Without straining it. Recall from my embouchure and air stream video that the back of the tongue should push forward like a spoon. Remember that yeah. So not yeah, but yeah. That's the shape that we want. So the first thing I'm going to do is play two whole notes for 4 beats each. The first one is going to be a mezzo forte, and then the second one is going to be a forte. When I change dynamics, I'm not going to articulate. I'm simply just going to use the air. Notice how I didn't use my tongue, I just used the air. Let's try it together. And 1, 2, 3. Now the next thing we're going to do is we're going to do two whole notes again on the note D, but this time we're going to start mezzo forte, and then we're going to go to piano on the second whole note. 1, 2, 3. Remember, don't collapse your embouchure as you get softer. Next, we're going to try 4 half notes. We're going to go piano, mezzo forte, and forte. As you go up, try to find the space between notes and crescendo between the notes. I will model this first. Now let's try it together. 1, 2, 3. Now let's do it in reverse order in 4 half notes. So we're going to go forte to mezzo piano to piano. Same thing here. Try to find the space between the notes and decrescendo between the notes. This is how we make things sound more musical. Once you're comfortable with half notes, the next step is to try to do it in quarter notes. Let's try it together. 1, 2, 3. Now let's try doing it in the reverse order. 1, 2, 3. As you get comfortable with this, you can move on to another part of this exercise, which is called creating dynamic profiles and improvising melodies over them on the same note. The only thing you're changing is the dynamic. For example, here's another example. I recommend you record yourself when doing this exercise. That way you can see how much change is happening between the dynamics. Don't ever feel afraid to expand your range. Recall from my previous video about beginnings how we start the note. The same principle of dynamics can happen here. Regardless of what the dynamic of your first note is, it should always enter very smoothly. For example, notice how the beginning of the note crescendoed into the piano dynamic that I was going for, and then it decayed and tapered off. That's the kind of feeling you want with the beginnings and endings of your notes. Another reason why this exercise is so important is that the same dynamic can mean different things depending on the context. For example, a solo piano is different than an ensemble piano. A solo piano might be a little louder because you're trying to project. An ensemble piano is often softer because you need to blend with your section. This is why this exercise can come in handy both in solo repertoire or in orchestra or band excerpts. When playing a passage of music, if you have a dynamic that's marked for the entire section, not every note should be the same dynamic. This is where this exercise comes in handy. Something you can do is follow the line of the music. If it's ascending, you can crescendo slightly in between notes and use the dynamics exercise. For example, if we're going up the scale, make sure as you articulate between notes, the tongue does not drop when you change dynamics, because that will then cause your pitch to drop. By utilizing this exercise, you can make your music sound much more interesting and expressive. Alright guys, thank you so much for watching. If you have any questions or would like another topic covered, please drop a comment below. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe to my channel for more content. Thank you so much, and I hope you have a wonderful day.